Everyone knows that I am a filthy NA shill when it comes to esports, but lately I have been so excited for the EMEA Valorant broadcasts because I get to see my favorite team, Karmine Corp. There is something so endlessly entertaining and wonderful about the way they don't know how to play Valorant. And it's wild too, right? Because they have two players from one of the best teams in EU Valorant history, so surely they can't be bad, right? Right? Well, it turns out that when your primary requirement for building the team is that the players parlant français, it doesn't necessarily lend itself to being the best team. Not that French people are bad at Valorant necessarily, but just throwing 5 French speakers into a room doesn't necessarily make you good at Valorant. It's no surprise that KCorp wanted to prioritize getting their hands on Scream and Navira for their roster, and with good reason. They're the most accomplished French-speaking players in Valorant, if you're looking at people from Europe anyway, and Scream especially has always been known for his insane mechanical prowess. But then you have the whole Scream wants to be an IGL thing, and I don't know if that is the reason or is not the reason that things went the way they went, but it meant that Enzo wasn't going to be joining this team. And look, here's some fun facts about Enzo. 1, he's French. 2, he's an IGL. 3, he's played on the best European team of all time, and while he didn't take Boaster's job as IGL at the time, he did have a role as a secondary caller for them. 4, he's currently playing in challenges for a team called Apex alongside Magnum, Mystic, Shadow, and Keiko, who won Split 1 and are currently winning Split 2. 5, he's a really nice guy, so I can't imagine that there's any secret drama going on to lead to this outcome. So already we're hitting some questionable roadblocks in Karmine Corp's path to becoming a dominant roster. And at this point, I don't think the Enzo thing is even a controversial point. It's basically at this point, if you're a new player and you're logging into Valorant for the first time, you're going into the tutorial, you're hit with this shit. The rest of the team comprises XMS, Shin, and Nuzira. Of these 3, XMS is the only one who's actually had any experience playing in the main VCT circuit, given that he was on Alliance alongside Enzo back in 2021. But for 2022, he played on Polaris on 10-star alongside Brody, Cray, Polvi, and Doma, where they came second in Split 1, before the team got picked up by Mad Lions to play in France, where they also came second in Split 2. So XMS has actually had some pretty proven results, but if you look really carefully, you'll notice a bit of a change in his role from then and now. Currently on KCorp, XMS plays almost exclusively smokes. This past week, there was a bit of Killjoy going on, but mostly smokes. And he had his experience on smokes in 2022, where he'd sometimes hop on an Astra or a Brim, depending on the map. But for the most part, we were seeing XMS on Chamber, or sometimes an initiator like KO. Now, I am a huge proponent of player flexibility. It's something that I've spoken quite a lot about on Daring Minds, the Valorant show that I do. I think that as Valorant grows, becomes more complex, there's more depth to it, it's something that you're not going to be able to avoid. Players are going to have flexibility. So I'm not here to advocate for XMS being gatekept off of smokes. But it does mean that some of the questionable things that KCorp have been doing this season so far has been based around how he plays this role. There's a lot of Sheriff presence, and if you're a Sideshow co-stream enjoyer, you will know how maddening it is to see him always choosing full armor Sheriff in situations that don't always call for it. We also see XMS at times taking the op for KCorp. This isn't solely his job, as I'd argue that Navera is kind of their main opper on the team, but it does happen. The operator role is traditionally given to agents who have good disengage potential. That's why historically it's always been a kind of a jet weapon, and then Chamber came along, who was deliberately designed around sniping and disengaging. And so those two that was their job. It lowers the risk that comes with the reward of the picks you can get to open up a site, and favors the mechanically stronger team who can both get the kill required and get themselves safely out to prevent being traded. Smoke agents, are not designed for this. In fact, in the current meta, smoke are definitely the agents that you want to be playing the safest, because without their utility, your ability to break into a site is basically nil. So putting a high-risk frontline weapon in the hands of someone who needs to be playing lower risk and on the backline is not always conducive to success. And you know what? Let's have a little talk about that very high-level concept that I just kind of mentioned there, and that is using utility to break into a site. This is one of those concepts that only, 200 IQ Valorant enjoyers such as myself can really understand, and it takes a real dedication to the craft and the nuances around the art form to truly get it. And that's buying utility. I get it. Game has gun. Only gun matter. No, but seriously, one of the most infuriating things about KCorp is their insistence on not buying utility. It's funny because we currently exist in a world where this half shields way of playing has been popularized by Fnatic, and the idea is that you can really pad your economy by not dropping 1,000 credits on full armor every single time you play with rifles. And despite that, KCorp truly seem to have gone the other way. At any opportunity, they'll buy full armor, even if it means relinquishing the chance to run slightly better weapons or, you know, utility. And this is the part where you have to think, okay, what's the cause here? Karmine Corp do have 2 players for whom this is their first foray into tier 1, but these are clearly not idiots or like straight up bad players. And the likelihood of finding a permutation of players who all think that this is the right way to play, despite the fact that literally everyone else in the world is playing differently, is very low. So my best guess is just that this is Scream's vision of how the game should be played, and everyone else is just like following him into battle. The problem is, it's just denying them so many chances to get any kind of a one-up on their opponents. Whether it's the lack of boombots or jet smokes or gecko mollies, KCorp have been holding themselves back from gaining information and having the ability to control the space of their opponents. And it's this, on top of their painfully slow attack rounds, they're giving over a free space, their poor utility placement, that's making Karmine Corp look over and over like they're not just the weakest team, but they're too lost to be able to fix the problems that they do already have. Could it be coaching? I don't know. Their coaches PM and Zeish have worked together for a really long time. Both of them were on Vitality before and helped that team find good success in the 2021 and 2022 circuits. So it's not like they've just pulled 2 randos off the street who know nothing about the game. When you listen to Scream's ex-coach from Team Liquid, Sliggy, talk about this thing, he says a lot about how he thinks that Scream could really thrive under an IGL.
I would love to see an IGL in that team. And just an IGL with Adil. I can't believe he wanted to go his Valorant career and not have a proper IGL with him. Like, he could be unleashed.
It's not the first time that Scream's capabilities of an IGL have been called into question, as he took on the role on Liquid in mid-2022 and promptly got flattened when Champions rolled around, stating himself that he didn't even know if that IGLing was the problem or not. Personally, I think that bringing in an experienced IGL like Enzo would probably be a good answer to a lot of their problems, but it would rely on all of the other players being willing to kind of just trust him and go with what he wants. And judging by the outward kind of appearance of the culture on Team Liquid and the fact that they changed their IGLs quite a lot, Scream himself said that when Eccles was the IGL, it was too much and that they didn't even need an IGL. I don't know if I necessarily trust that he would just fall into line as a rank and file player under someone else's calling. But then again, I haven't worked with him, I haven't played with him. I can only make judgments based on what I'm seeing from the outside. 4 out of the 5 KCorp players are in the bottom 10 ranked players in all of EMEA, with NewZero taking the very bottom slot. With him taking on predominantly the initiator role as well, it begs the question as to whether or not he would be kind of the ideal candidate to be replaced with Enzo. That all said, the roster lock has been in place for a few weeks now, so whatever KCorp have at the moment is what they're gonna have to put up with until their season ends. And I understand that I, like many others, are basically here to give pro Enzo propaganda, but we're just gonna have to accept that we can't have what we want, at least not yet. Honestly, I have been really enjoying KCorp's games because they are so bad that they are just the best entertainment in Valorant right now, and I kind of don't care whether you agree or not because you're wrong. Unless you agree. I'm really interested in you guys' opinions on Karmine Corp at the moment and what you think about what's going on with this team, what they need to do to fix it, and is it even possible for them to fix it? You know, like, are we gonna get a couple months down the line and it actually turns out that they're like great? They are at a point right now where if they want to like get to playoffs, they're gonna have to basically win every single game that they've got yet to play, and I'm sorry, I'm just not sure I see that happening. Let me know what you think. I will see you guys in the next video. Maybe there'll be a Karmine Corp victory by that point, but who freaking knows? Let me know and I will see you soon. Goodbye. Mwah.